When something is important enough, you do it even if the odds are not in your favor.
Taxes are one of those things we all dread, right? It doesn't matter your political view, nobody really enjoys paying them. But have you ever stopped to think about why we pay them in the first place? Taxes are what keep society running, funding essential services like roads, schools, fire departments, and public transportation. Now, compared to other countries, Americans pay relatively low taxes. But could that be part of the reason our public systems are struggling? Think about it. Outdated roads, poor public transport, and the lack of universal health care. Doesn't that make you wonder if there's more to the story? But here's the real question. Why does the tax system seem so unfair? It's not just a problem for regular Americans, it's even worse for the ultra-wealthy. Have you ever wondered how the richest people in America avoid paying taxes while the rest of us are stuck with the bill? In this video, we'll dive into one of the most shocking reports about how the wealthy dodge their tax responsibilities and the system that lets them get away with it. Spoiler alert, it's worse than you might think. If you're curious to learn more about how this works, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. You won't want to miss out on more eye-opening videos like this one. The shocking findings of ProPublica's report. ProPublica, a non-profit news organization, just revealed some shocking information. They published a report called The Secret IRS Files, showing how the ultra-wealthy manage to avoid paying taxes even as their wealth grows at an incredible rate. One of the most jaw-dropping examples is Jeff Bezos, the richest person on Earth. Between 2014 and 2018, Bezos' wealth grew by nearly $100 billion. But here's the kicker. His true tax rate during that time was only 0.98%. Yes, you heard that right. Less than 1%. To put this in perspective, the average American pays about 14.6% in taxes. So Bezos, who has a net worth of over $190 billion, paid a tax rate that's 15 times lower than the average American. And remember, most Americans earn a fraction of what Bezos makes in just 1 minute. Doesn't that seem unfair? Defending the billionaires, the usual arguments. Of course, there are always people who defend the billionaires. They argue that the rich aren't doing anything illegal because according to the law, they don't have to pay taxes on unrealized gains. This includes things like stocks, which aren't taxed until they're actually sold. Technically, those defending the billionaires have a point. People like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and Warren Buffett often find ways to use the tax system to their advantage. But here's the thing, they aren't exactly breaking the law. Instead, they're taking advantage of loopholes in the system, living a life of luxury, and paying almost nothing in taxes. Does that seem right to you? How the ultra-rich avoid paying taxes? Now let's take a deeper dive into how this system works. ProPublica broke it down into 3 simple steps that the ultra-wealthy use to avoid paying taxes. Step 1. Buy. The first step is simple. The rich buy things, assets, companies, or inherit wealth. As long as they don't sell these assets, they don't have to pay taxes. This is because taxes are usually tied to income or profits. The rich don't rely on salary or income to live. They use their accumulated assets to generate wealth without having to sell them and trigger taxes. Step 2. Borrow. The second step is borrowing. Rather than taking a salary and paying taxes on it, billionaires borrow against their holdings. Banks often lend them money at extremely low interest rates. For instance, they might offer $10 million with an interest rate of only 3%. But if the billionaire took that $10 million as salary, they would owe almost 37% in taxes. This is how the ultra-wealthy can live a lavish lifestyle without paying taxes. They borrow money using their vast assets as collateral, avoiding income tax entirely. Step 3. Die. The final step is perhaps the most shocking. When the ultra-wealthy die, they often use trusts and complex philanthropic foundations to avoid estate taxes. Their heirs can inherit their stocks, real estate, and other assets, often tax-free. This creates a cycle where the ultra-rich pass their wealth down to the next generation, keeping them in control of vast fortunes without ever paying taxes. The price of luxury, how the rich live. So how do these billionaires spend all the money they don't pay taxes on? Let's take Jeff Bezos as an example. His wealth lets him live a truly over-the-top lifestyle. Bezos owns a $500 million custom-built super yacht. And it gets crazier. His yacht comes with a smaller support yacht, which even has its own helipad. But here's the catch. Bezos doesn't have to pay any taxes on the growth of his wealth. Instead of earning an income that gets taxed like most of us, he borrows against his massive fortune. This lets him fund his lavish lifestyle while so many others are struggling to pay for the basics. Doesn't that seem unfair? The disturbing reality of American politics. This system of tax avoidance isn't just about rich people finding ways around the rules. It's about a system where both political parties, Democrats and Republicans, seem to be playing the same game. Politicians might say they want higher taxes on the wealthy, but behind closed doors, they're working to protect the rich. Why? Because corporate donations have a huge influence on their decisions. The political system is so tied to corporate interests that real change feels almost impossible. It's not that the government doesn't know about the unfairness, it's that those in power benefit from it. Both major parties get big donations from corporations. In return, they make sure the wealthiest continue to pay as little as possible in taxes. This creates a system where the rich stay at the top, while the rest of us continue to struggle. The issue isn't ignorance, it's the fact that those in power want things to stay the same. The myth of trickle-down economics. For decades, American politics has been driven by the idea of trickle-down economics. This theory says that if the rich and big corporations get tax cuts, they'll invest that money back into the economy, creating jobs and helping everyone. The problem? It hasn't worked. Instead of helping the economy, the rich just keep getting richer. Over the years, corporate tax rates have been cut, and it's clear what's happened. The wealth gap has grown so wide that it's now a serious problem. The ProPublica report is just one example of how tax policies have been set up to keep the ultra-wealthy at the top while everyone else struggles to get by. A government for the elite, not the people. The scariest part of this system is how it creates a government controlled by the elite. The ultra-wealthy, like Bezos, Musk, and others, hold all the power. They don't just control the economy, they also have a huge influence over the politicians who make the laws. The worst part? They do this without ever being elected or held accountable for their actions. This is how we've ended up in a world where a small group of people control more wealth than entire countries, all while paying almost nothing in taxes. It's a system where the rich keep getting richer, and the rest of us are left struggling. These billionaires aren't just influencing the economy, they are shaping laws and policies to keep themselves at the top, with little concern for the average person. This unequal system is a major reason why so many people are feeling left behind. What can we do about it? If you're wondering how we can fix this unfair system, the truth is that just voting won't do enough. We're often told to vote for progressive politicians, call our representatives, and push for change. But the reality is, the people in power don't really listen to the average person. Instead, they pay more attention to the voices of big corporate donors. Over the years, these massive donations have turned our political system into one that's more focused on keeping things the way they are, rather than making real change. Both major political parties are heavily influenced by the wealthiest people and corporations. This makes it incredibly hard for anything to truly change. The system is built to protect the interests of the rich and powerful, leaving the rest of us to fight for a fairer system that rarely comes. Until the grip of corporate money is loosened, real change seems out of reach. Historical lessons and the need for class consciousness. History has shown that real change doesn't happen through polite petitions or voting alone. It happens when people get fed up and take action. Just look at the American Revolution and the labor movements in the early 1900s. Those were times when people came together and fought back against an unfair system. For a long time, the idea of a popular uprising in the US seemed unlikely. But in recent years, we've seen more strikes, protests, and acts of defiance. This shows that people are starting to wake up and realize how broken the system really is. A big part of this shift is the rise of class consciousness, understanding that the rich aren't just some distant, abstract group. They are people who make money off the hard work of others. More and more Americans are realizing they've been given a raw deal, and they're starting to demand change. So, what's the real takeaway here? The ProPublica report is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to how broken our tax system is. But it's also a wake-up call. Are you ready to accept the status quo, or is it time for a change? The truth is, the system isn't working for most of us. It's working for the few. If we want things to improve, it's going to take everyday people like you and me to come together and demand real change. Why should the ultra-wealthy continue living in luxury while paying almost nothing in taxes, while the rest of us deal with outdated roads, high healthcare costs, and a government more interested in big corporations than its citizens? Does that seem fair to you? If this video got you thinking, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this. We need to keep pushing for these tough conversations. And if you really believe in this, consider supporting creators who are taking on these hard-hitting topics. Your support helps keep these important discussions alive, whether it's through Patreon or just by sharing and liking the videos. Together, we can make a difference.